The ancient Greeks had a word for time, chronos. It meant time like we measure it, minutes, hours, days, the kind that flows forward like a ticking metronome. But they also had another word for it, kairos. Kairos was time with a heartbeat, time that ripened, time that waited for a moment then struck. Not the time of clocks, but the time of meaning. Which kind of time are we living in? Chronos, right? A relentless digital metronome driving you faster and faster towards... Well, towards what exactly? Next paycheck? Next quarter? The next election cycle? Or is it just the next flickering dopamine hit from that device you're clutching like a life raft in a storm of nothingness? We're a species accelerating towards nowhere, eyes glued to the immediate, brains wired for the instant. Our collective attention span shattered into 1,000 tiny, worthless fragments. We scroll, we consume, we react. We barely remember what we have for breakfast, let alone what we plan for next week. And don't give me that bullshit about legacy. We talk about legacy, but we can barely plan a decent family holiday. The idea of planning the future of civilization is a joke. A sick, twisted cosmic joke we play on ourselves. This isn't just some cultural malaise. This isn't just about busyness. This is a profound, dangerous amnesia. We have forgotten deep time. We have lost the capacity to truly see beyond the blink of an eye. We've amputated our future, one instant at a time. Today we're going to tear apart this short-sighted delusion. We're going to drag out the ghost of a dead philosopher, a renegade named Bergson, who saw time not as a line, but as a living, breathing beast. We're going to strap his insights to the cold, hard, terrifying demands of a concept called Longtermism. And then we're going to detonate it all, right in the face of our immediate, utterly suicidal planning. This is an intervention for a species that's forgotten how to see beyond its own nose. We're going to ask the question that should keep you awake at night. What the hell happens when a species loses its grip on time itself? Let's find out. 835. Project Mayhem, listen closely. Forget the grand philosophical treatise for a moment. Forget the cosmic scale we're aiming for. Let's start with the immediate truth of your own lives. Because the first step to dismantling your confinement is realizing that you're already trapped. And your trap, my friends, is built from time. Or more accurately, the horrifying, shrinking, suffocating lack of it. You are shackled to the now. Every system you participate in, every digital flicker that invades your eyeballs, it all conspires to train you for one thing: instant gratification. It's the reigning deity, the unquestioned dogma of your modern existence. Food, fast. Information, real-time streaming, breaking now. Entertainment, on-demand, binge-worthy, next episode in 10 seconds. Hell, even emotional responses are commodified and delivered immediately. A like, a share, a fleeting burst of digital validation. We've been conditioned relentlessly to expect immediate results, immediate answers, immediate pleasure. If it takes longer than a minute, it's too long. If it requires more than a single tap, it's too complicated. This isn't just convenience. This is a systemic lobotomy of your long-term vision. It's the slow, steady decay of your capacity for patience, for process, for anything that unfolds beyond the microsecond. This isn't some quaint observation about short attention spans. This is a fundamental rewiring of the human operating system. Your brains, once capable of holding complex, multi-layered narratives, of plotting generational strategies, are now optimized for twitch response. They're dopamine junkies, hooked on the next hit, the next notification, the next shallow distraction that momentarily fills the void. The ramifications of this temporal myopia are not just inconvenient, they are catastrophic. Let's dissect how this confinement of the immediate manifests, from the mundane to the existential. Take something as simple as economics. Capitalism, in its current rabid form, is the ultimate engine of immediacy. Quarterly reports, shareholder value this quarter, growth targets that demand constant, immediate increases irrespective of long-term sustainability. Investment horizons have shrunk to almost nothing. Companies aren't rewarded for patient, decades-long research and development that might yield groundbreaking solutions. No, they are rewarded for the next big pop, the quick turnaround, the algorithm-pleasing surge. This demand for immediate returns externalizes risk, exploits resources, and absolutely obliterates any notion of responsible long-term stewardship. Why invest in a clean energy solution that pays off in 50 years when you can make a killing on a speculative bubble next week? The market doesn't care about your grandchildren's breathable air, it cares about today's stock price. Then look at politics. What's the timeline for your average politician? The next election cycle, 4 years, maybe 8 if they're lucky. Every policy, every soundbite, every public appearance is geared towards winning the next vote, not solving problems that demand multi-generational thinking. Climate change? That operates on timescales beyond any politician's career. Infrastructure decay? Too slow and expensive for an immediate win. Education reform that truly pays off in 20 years? Fucking forget about it. They're incentivized to address immediate grievances, to create immediate headlines, to placate the loudest, most reactive voices now. And you, the public, are just as guilty. You demand immediate solutions, immediate accountability, immediate scapegoats. You want the problems to vanish with a single policy, a single election, a single tweet. You reward instant promises, not patient, arduous, often unpopular work. But the true architect of this confinement, the most insidious, pervasive force, is the information environment you swim in. Social media, 24/7 news cycles, constant notifications. This isn't just distraction, this is a deliberate, algorithmic assault on your capacity for sustained thought, for deep focus, for anything that requires a long-term perspective. You are fed a diet of immediate, bite-sized outrage and gratification. Every headline screams for your instant attention. Every feed is a relentless stream of discontinuous, decontextualized moments. There's no narrative, no progression, no slow burn. Just endless, addictive bursts of information designed to keep your eyeballs glued, your thumb scrolling, and your brain producing that sweet, sweet dopamine. This starves the part of your brain that handles complex, unfolding, long-duration realities. It actively atrophies your ability to connect cause and effect across time. You're presented with symptoms, not systemic issues. You see events, not processes. You react to the immediate emotional trigger, not the underlying historical or societal forces. How can you grapple with a concept like deep time, of geological ages, of evolutionary shifts, of multi-millennial human development, when your entire cognitive apparatus is trained to process information in 10-second increments? It's like asking a fish to climb a tree. And the consequence? The erosion of collective memory. When every moment is new, when history is reduced to sound bites and memes, when the past is just a Google search away, we lose our vital connection to it. We don't internalize its lessons. We don't feel its weight. Without a deep past, without understanding the long arcs of human endeavor, of failure and triumph, there can be no meaningful deep future. We become rootless, adrift, unable to learn from previous cycles of growth and collapse. We're like amnesiacs, constantly stumbling through existence, surprised every time the same mistakes repeat themselves, like a goldfish swimming around its bowl. And let's not pretend that this is just something being done to us. Us as individuals are complicit. We choose the instant gratification. We choose the scroll. We choose the quick fix, the easy answer. We delegate our thinking to algorithms and our responsibility to institutions that are themselves trapped in the immediate. We have become accustomed to this temporal constraint, and dare I say it, we even find comfort in its predictability. It's less effort, less thinking, less being. Think about your own life. Are you sacrificing long-term health for short-term pleasure? Prioritizing immediate emotional comfort over the difficult, painful truth that leads to genuine growth? Are you chasing fleeting validation over building meaningful, deep relationships that take years to cultivate? Are you trading genuine learning, which takes patience and struggle, for quick information bites that leave you feeling superficially informed but fundamentally ignorant? You are sacrificing the substantial for the fleeting, building lives that feel less like a coherent, intentional journey and more like a series of disconnected, impulsive reactions. This is the antithesis of deep time. We have shrunk our temporal window so drastically, we have lost the capacity to even perceive the vastness that surrounds us, let alone plan within it. We are temporal illiterates, stumbling blindly through an existence we can barely comprehend beyond the fleeting second. We are a species caught in a temporal vice of our own making, tightened by every instant gratification and every glance away from the horizon. And before we can even talk about escape, about Bergson and his radical vision of time, or about the terrifying demands of long-termism, you need to feel the crushing pressure of this temporal vice. You need to acknowledge that your precious now is rapidly becoming the very thing that will suffocate your future. The air is thinning, Project Mayhem, and it's our own fucking fault. I'm hoping you felt the squeeze in that last section, the crushing reality of your self-imposed temporal shackles. Now I'm going to introduce you to a man who saw this coming. A French philosopher, a sharp-eyed fucker named Henri Bergson. Bergson was a renegade who over a century ago fundamentally challenged the very bedrock of how you and the entire scientific establishment understood reality, specifically how you understood time. Most of you, when you think of time, you think of a clock, right? Tick-tock, seconds, minutes, hours. A linear progression, a neat little line, divisible into discrete units. You think of a timeline, a calendar, a schedule, however you fucking pronounce it. You think of physics formulas that treat time as just another dimension like length or width, where you can pinpoint an event at a precise XYZT. This is the time of your bosses, your trains, your fucking spreadsheets. It's the time of science, of engineering, of control. And Bergson looked at that and said, that's a lie. Or to be more precise, he said, that's not the whole truth. That's a dangerous distortion of something much more fundamental. He called that clock time, that measurable, divisible time, spatialized time. Think of it like this. If you take a movie, you can break it down into individual frames. Each frame is a static image. You can measure its position on the reel. You can count how many frames per second. That's spatialized time. It's useful for analysis. It's great for predicting where the next frame should be. But is that the experience of watching the movie? Is that the flow of the story? Well, of course not. You don't experience a film as individual disconnected snapshots. You experience it as a continuous unfolding moment. One scene bleeds into the next. The past of the film is always present, informing the current moment. The tension builds, the plot thickens. That's not discrete points, that's a dynamic, indivisible whole. And that, my friends, is what Bergson called real duration, la durée. This is time as you actually experience it. Not the time on your phone, but the time in your gut. It's the continuous, flowing, indivisible and ever-changing stream of consciousness. It's qualitative, not quantitative. It's a heterogeneous multiplicity, a way of saying its parts aren't distinct by how much space they take up, but by their unique quality, by how they blend and interpenetrate with the uninterrupted flow. Think about listening to a piece of music. You don't hear individual notes in isolation as disconnected points of sound. You hear the melody. Each note flows into the next, influenced by the one before it, carrying the ghost of the past note into the present. The experience isn't about counting the notes, it's about the feeling, the unfolding, the continuous sweep of the sound. That's duration. Or consider a thought. It doesn't pop into your head fully formed, like a downloaded file. It emerges, it builds, it shifts. Your consciousness isn't a series of static mental states. It's a dynamic, fluid process where past thoughts, memories, emotions, they're all constantly interpenetrating and coloring the present moment. Your memory isn't some filing cabinet where you pull out old data. It's a living, breathing presence within the flow of your duration, actively shaping what you perceive and how you react right now. Why does this matter? Why is this French academic's obsession with time so vital to your immediate existence? Because Bergson argued that your intellect, the very tool you use to analyze, dissect, and categorize the world, betrays you when it comes to time. It's designed to grasp things in space, to break them down into static, manageable pieces. So it takes the continuous flow of real time, of duration, and it chops it up into snapshots, like those movie frames, and then you mistake those static snapshots for the reality. You've been living by the movie frames, thinking you're watching the movie. But the film reel isn't the experience of watching the film, and spatialized clock-based time isn't the experience of lived time, of duration. It leads to the illusion of determinism. If time is just a series of static points, then one moment causes the next in a predictable mechanical chain. cause and effect, like billiard balls. If you know the initial state, you can predict the future. This is the bedrock of much of classical science, and it's why so many people feel like their lives are preordained, that they're just pawns in a cosmic game. But if time is a continuous qualitative flow where the past constantly interpenetrates the present, where genuine novelty can emerge, then true freedom is possible. Your free will isn't some illusion, some trick of the mind. It's rooted in the very nature of duration. Every moment is a genuine unfolding, not just a replay of the past. Second, it leads to a misunderstanding of evolution and creativity. For Bergson, life isn't a machine. It's not just random mutations and cold, hard natural selection grinding away like a factory. He proposed the élan vital, the vital impulse. Think of this as a creative, unpredictable and constantly striving force that drives life forward, pushing it to generate new forms, adapt and evolve. It's an original impetus, an unpredictable surge of life that creates genuine novelty and diversity. It's the inherent drive towards becoming, towards unfolding. The élan vital isn't working on your clock time, it's operating on the grandest, deepest scale of duration. It's the engine of creative evolution. This isn't a pre-programmed blueprint, it's a continuous experimental outpouring. The diversity of life you see, from the simplest microbe to your complex, messed up human brain, isn't just a random chance. It's the expression of this vital impulse, ceaselessly pushing against the inertia of matter, striving for greater freedom, greater complexity, greater novelty over unimaginable spans of time. This is Bergson giving you a glimpse of deep time as a living, dynamic force, not just a static measurement. Our modern blindness, our absolute slavery to the immediate, quantitative moment has its roots in this fundamental misunderstanding. Our reliance on spatialized clock-based time, our relentless quantification of existence, it has atrophied our intuitive grasp of duration. You no longer feel the deep hum of evolutionary time, the slow grind of geological ages, the long arc of historical forces. You are deaf to the élan vital playing out on grand scales. You can't see the forest for the milliseconds. You're so busy checking the time on your watch that you've forgotten how to actually live through it. And this leads to the second crucial part of Bergson's message, the two ways of knowing. Your intellect, that's your practical analytical faculty. It's brilliant for manipulating matter, for building tools, for navigating the external world. It excels at breaking things down, creating concepts, understanding relationships. It's great for science and technology. It grasps things from the outside through analysis and representation. It sees things as static objects. This is the mind of the engineer, the accountant, the strategist. It's what built the temporal prison you're in. But then there's intuition. This is different. This is a direct, immediate and sympathetic entering into the object itself. It's a way of grasping reality from the inside in its dynamic, flowing and indivisible nature. It's non-conceptual, non-analytic. It's what gives us direct access to duration, to the ceaselessly seething surd at the heart of things. It's how you grasp the meaning of a poem, the essence of a friend, the true flow of time. For Bergson, philosophy's true task isn't to intellectualize endlessly, it's to use intuition to grasp this deeper reality that the intellect, by its very nature, misses. It's a disciplined effort to reverse the ordinary spatializing operations of the intellect. It's about reconnecting with the raw, flowing truth. You've been trained to ignore your intuition, to mistrust it, to rely solely on the quantifiable, the measurable, the logical. And in doing so, you've blinded yourselves to the very nature of existence. You've become creatures of the surface, skimming across the top of reality, never diving into its depths. You live by the clock, and the clock is lying to you about what time is. Bergson was arguing that we've been hypnotized by the clock, by the measurable, by the practical, and in doing so, we've lost our connection to the living, breathing, endlessly creative flow of reality itself. To reclaim deep time isn't just about knowing the scientific facts. It's about reawakening your capacity for duration, for experiencing time as a qualitative, continuous and infinitely rich unfolding, rather than a series of dead, isolated moments. It's about remembering how to feel the current, not just measure the distance to the next boy. Alright, Project Mayhem. You felt the crushing weight of the immediate. You've seen how Bergson ripped apart the illusion of your segmented, clock-bound time, revealing the continuous flowing reality beneath. Now, we're going to yank that understanding forward. We're going to show you where the true horror and your true responsibility lies. We are talking about long-termism. This is a direct, terrifying summons from the future. It's the sound of quadrillions of unborn voices screaming into the void, demanding to know what you, the living, are doing with this fragile window of existence. So what is long-termism? Let's put that rather dramatic opening aside. Strip away the jargon, and it's brutally simple. The long-term future, potentially containing more conscious life than has ever existed, holds immense, almost unfathomable moral significance. Our actions today, our choices, our distractions, our immediate obsessions, these don't just ripple through next week or next year or even next century. These could echo across millions, even billions of years. They could determine the entire trajectory of conscious existence in this universe. Let that sink in for a second. We're not just talking about your grandchildren's grandchildren. We're talking about your descendants a million years from now. Or, frankly, entirely new forms of consciousness that might arise from what humanity sets in motion. The potential lives that could exist in the vast cosmic timescales ahead of us dwarf, by an almost obscene margin, every single life that has ever existed on this planet. Every human, every animal, every amoeba, all of it is a drop in the bucket compared to the ocean of potential future. This isn't just a shift in scale. This is a complete, fundamental reorientation of the ethical compass. It makes your current immediate concerns, your petty arguments, your fleeting desires, your consumer habits seem not just trivial, but monstrously irresponsible in comparison to the existential risks that we face. Think about the threats. Uncontrolled artificial intelligence that could extinguish all conscious life. We've seen Terminator 2. Bioengineered pandemics that could sterilize the planet. Nuclear war. Asteroid impacts. These aren't just bad days at the office. These are extinction-level events. They are the moments where the future, that unimaginably vast ocean of potential, could be snuffed out forever before it even begins. And long-termism says, preventing that, ensuring that future exists, that conscious life continues to unfold and explore its potential, is our key moral priority. It's not a priority, it's the priority. Because if there's no long-term future, then none of your immediate, comfortable concerns matter anyway. They all vanish into the cosmic dust. Here's where the clash begins. Here's where the call from the future collides head-on with your short-term thinking. Long-termism demands a temporal perspective that directly contradicts every single instinct and system that you operate under. It demands deep time thinking, not just intellectually but intuitively. It demands that you not only understand geological and astronomical timescales but also feel the moral weight of them. You're used to cause and effect that plays out in days, weeks, months. Long-termism forces you to consider cause and effect that plays out over eons. Your politicians plan for the next election. Your corporations plan for the next quarter. Your media bombards you with the drama of the immediate moment. Long-termism demands that you consider what kind of world humanity will inherit in 100,000 years. This is not comfortable. This is not cozy. This isn't the easy answer. Long-termism asks you to prioritize abstract, distant potential over tangible, immediate needs. It forces you to confront your own profound insignificance, your fleeting blink of existence in the cosmic timescale, and simultaneously demands an overwhelming, species-level burden of responsibility. It can feel cold, utilitarian, almost inhuman in its scope. Some will call it hubristic, arrogant, and maybe in its purest form, it is. But its proponents, the ones who dare to look beyond their own lifespan, argue that our moral compass must extend beyond our immediate tribal circles, beyond our current generation, beyond even our species. Because the stakes are too high, the potential is too vast. To ignore it is not just short-sighted, it's an act of profound cosmic negligence. So why are we so bad at grasping this? Why does this vast, terrifying truth slide off our brains like water off a duck's back? It's exactly what Bergson told us. Our intellect, that magnificent tool for breaking down immediate problems, for optimizing for the now, for understanding clock time, it really struggles with duration. It struggles with the continuous, unpredictable, endlessly unfolding nature of real time. It sees the future as a blank wall, not a vast populated landscape. You can understand long-termism intellectually. You can read the papers, you can nod your head. But to truly act on it, to embody its demands, to let it sink into your bones and drive your choices, requires more than just logical reasoning. It demands a shift in your temporal intuition. It demands a reawakening of your capacity to feel the weight of duration, to feel the potential futures within it, to sense the élan vital, striving not just as an individual organism, but across the entire, unfolding history of conscious existence. If Bergson was right about duration, then the future isn't some fixed empty space we're moving into. It's an emergent, continuous unfolding that our present choices are actively, fundamentally shaping. The future is not just a destination. It's a living, breathing possibility that we are creating, moment by moment, in our duration. And if we're creating it blindly, impulsively, based on immediate gratification, then we are creating a future of monumental regret, or worse, no future at all. This is the ultimate test of human maturity. Can we as a species overcome our hardwired instinct for the immediate? Can we see beyond the next meal, the next trend, the next electoral cycle? Can we grasp the true scale of our existence and our potential? Can we feel the burden of a future that hasn't even had the chance to exist and act accordingly? Long-termism isn't just a philosophy, it's an almost unbearable call to responsibility. It's the universe whispering, then screaming, that our current blindness to deep time isn't just an inconvenience, it's an existential threat. It demands that we pull our heads out of our asses, stop staring at our own reflection in the digital pond, and start looking at the true, vast, and terrifying horizon. It asks, are you going to be the generation that built a future, or the one that simply consumed it into oblivion? So far, we've hammered home the immediate. We've talked about Bergson and his truth about duration. We've even given you the terrifying mandate of long-termism. But here's where we strip away another layer of our delusions. It's not just that the world is set up to keep us short-sighted, it's that we actively, desperately resist the long view because it's too fucking uncomfortable. Think about it. Why do you avert your gaze from the distant horizon? Why do you scoff at planning for future generations or dismiss the talk of existential risks that could wipe out everything? Because the truth of deep time, the truth of long-termism is a heavy, unwelcome burden. You wrap yourselves in a convenient blindfold, not because you can't see, but because vision is too stark, too demanding. Let's dissect the mechanisms of this self-imposed blindness. First, there's the sheer psychological burden of long-term responsibility. Our rather primitive brains, those lumps of grey matter rattling around in our skulls, are wired for immediate threats. A tiger in a bush, a rival tribe, food on the table today. That's what evolution optimized us for. But thinking about climate change in 500 years, or the ethical implications of AI a million years from now, that's cognitive overload. The sheer scale of deep time is so vast it triggers an internal shutdown. Our brains 503 and then fall into the blue screen of death. Our processing power isn't built for quadrillions of potential future lives. It's built for the next minute, the next meal, the next encounter. When confronted with something so overwhelmingly massive, our brain defaults to a protective mechanism, dismissal. It's easier to label it too big to solve or not my problem and then just shove it in the mental junk drawer. This is about emotional discomfort over intellect. The overwhelming sense of dread, of insignificance, of paralyzing responsibility. It's easier to numb ourselves with endless distractions than to sit with the weight of potential future suffering or the abyss of extinction. That's the ultimate avoidance coping. You build a comforting narrative of everything's fine because the alternative is too terrifying. You prefer the lie to the burden of truth. This leads directly to the comfort of impotence and learned helplessness. If the problems are too big, too complex, too distant to grasp, then why bother, right? Why lift a finger? This narrative of individual powerlessness is incredibly seductive. It's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. I'm just one person, what can I do? Becomes the ready-made excuse, a rhetorical shield to return to your immediate concerns. And this isn't just individual, it metastasizes into a societal disease. You see these massive, intractable problems, climate change, social inequality, collapsing ecosystems, endlessly debated, endlessly analysed, but never truly solved. This breeds cynicism and apathy. You become conditioned to expect failure. You learn that your efforts, your long-term thinking, your sacrifices, they won't make a damn bit of difference, so why even try? This learned helplessness actively erodes any will, any drive, any capacity to truly engage with long-term challenges. You become comfortable with the impending doom, because at least you don't have to do anything about it. It's a convenient surrender. Then there's the insidious siren song of the allure of the next big thing and false progress. You crave novelty. You demand quick solutions. You cling to the myth of linear progress, that some magical future will just clean up all your messes. You genuinely believe technology or some undiscovered scientific breakthrough will simply solve all of your long-term problems, so you don't have to deal with them now. This is a form of technological optimism that isn't optimism. It's pure, unadulterated delusion. It's a comforting deferral of responsibility, a belief that someone else, some future genius, will magically pull your collective arse out of the fire. This mindset creates a dangerous delusion that any short-term innovation is inherently progress, even if it has long-term detrimental effects. You celebrate the immediate gain, the shiny new toy, while ignoring the accumulating, festering cost. You marvel at the processing power of a new chip, but ignore the mountain of electronic waste it creates. You laud the convenience of a single-use plastic while the oceans choke. It's like cheering for a car that can go 300 miles per hour without ever asking if it has brakes or if it runs on the tears of future generations. This blind faith in a deus ex machina keeps your eyes firmly fixed on the next shiny object, not the distant catastrophe it might be fueling. And then, woven into the very fabric of your culture are the cultural narratives of the eternal present. Look at the advertising. It's all about living for today. Seize the moment. You only live once. YOLO, motherfuckers. While these phrases in moderation can sometimes spark individual vitality, in the context of your collective myopia, they become a dangerous justification for short-sightedness and immediate gratification. They are the anthems of temporal self-destruction. There's a subtle but pervasive anti-future bias creeping into your collective unconscious. Either the future is romanticized into some utopian fantasy that doesn't require your effort, or, more commonly, it's presented as a dystopian inevitability, a hopeless wasteland. If the future is already doomed, if it's a nightmare you can't escape, then why bother planning for it? Why sacrifice? This makes proactive engagement seem utterly futile. Why exert yourselves for a future that's already written in blood, or one that's irrelevant compared to some idealized, often fabricated past? This narrative of inescapable fate becomes yet another convenient excuse for inaction. Finally, and perhaps most tragically, there's the death of the generational contract. For most of human history, there was an implicit, unspoken understanding. Each generation builds for the next. They plant trees they won't sit under. They build cathedrals they won't see finished. They pass down wisdom, institutions, resources. This was the silent agreement, the continuity of civilization. But the cult of the immediate, the addiction to the now, it has utterly obliterated this generational contract. We are becoming a society of temporal parasites. We're voraciously consuming the past's inheritance, devouring resources, piling up debt, leaving nothing but a barren landscape for those who come after. We're like locusts, stripping the field bare and then moving on, blind to the famine we leave in our wake. And why? Precisely because we've lost the capacity to connect with that future. The very idea of sacrificing for someone you'll never meet, someone who won't give you an immediate thank you, becomes absurd when all value is measured in the now. The future generation has no voice in your immediate calculations. They are a ghost, an inconvenient abstraction. This isn't just happening to us, Project Mayhem. This is a deliberate, active, self-imposed blindness. You cling to the comfortable blindfold because the truth of deep time, the terrifying demands of long-termism would force you to change. It would demand sacrifice. It would demand patience. It would demand that you feel the weight of existence. And that, for most of you, is simply too much to bear. So you turn away. You choose the immediate, and in doing so, you condemn yourselves. Last section. Bit fucking heavy this week, isn't it? What do we do then? Now what? Do we just curl up and wait for the inevitable? Do we sink into the comfortable apathy that we've cultivated? Fuck no. This isn't a surrender. This is a call to arms. This is about taking back what's yours, your temporal vision. It's about smashing the illusion of the segmented clock and reclaiming the vast flowing power of duration. It's about forcing your eyes open to the future you're actively destroying and then starting to build something real. As always, this is never about Luddism. It's not about throwing away your phones or living in a cave. This is about a fundamental shift in perception. It's about re-engaging with reality on its own terms, not the terms dictated by algorithms and quarterly reports. It's about a disciplined effort to cultivate intuition, to reawaken that part of your mind that the intellect has bludgeoned into submission. And how do you do it? How do you escape the tyranny of spatialized time and reconnect with the flow of duration? You need to embrace the slow burn. We've been conditioned for speed, for instant results. Reverse it. Deliberately slow down. Engage in activities that demand patience, sustained attention, and the acceptance of unfolding process. Think about planting a seed in a garden. It doesn't sprout in 5 seconds. It takes days, weeks. It needs constant care. You witness life unfold in a true Bergsonian duration. You feel the slow, relentless push of the élan vital. Put down the soundbite summaries. Pick up a dense book, a big, thick fucker. You know, like Heidegger's Being and Time. Try that one. It's a tome. Read it slowly. Let the ideas marinate. Let the narrative unfold at its own pace. Resist the urge to skim. This trains your mind for sustained focus, for understanding complex narratives over time. Stop texting, stop shouting in online forums. Sit down with another human being and have a real conversation that lasts hours. One where ideas are explored, challenged, developed. One where thoughts flow and interpenetrate, not just collide in quick, disconnected bursts. Go for a walk in nature, but not for exercise. Walk slowly. Observe the subtle changes in light, the growth of a plant, the movement of clouds. Witness processes that unfold over geological timescales, even if you can only glimpse a fraction of them. Feel the passage of real time, unmeasured by any clock. These are temporal exercises. They force your mind out of the immediate quantifiable snapshot and back into the continuous qualitative flow of duration. They rebuild the muscles of your long-term perception. Next, you need to connect to natural cycles, to the primal rhythms of deep time. Your lives are insulated from the natural world, dictated by artificial schedules, artificial light, artificial seasons. Break that. Observe the sky. Don't just glance. Watch the moon phases, track the stars, notice the changing length of days. These are ancient, fundamental cycles that operate on timescales far beyond our fucking daily grind. They remind us of a grander, slower rhythm. Feel the shift of the seasons. Understand the planting and harvest cycles. Connect your life to the turning of the year, not just the fiscal quarter. This grounds you in something larger than yourself, something that moves with patience and inevitability. Visit ancient landscapes. Stand before mountains carved over millions of years. Look at ancient trees that have stood for centuries. Feel the immensity of geological time. These physical experiences can jolt your intuition awake, reminding you of the vastness of the Earth's duration. These connections are not aesthetic, they are spiritual resets. They remind you that you are part of something unimaginably old, something that exists on a scale that you can't even begin to measure. You also need to cultivate historical empathy to feel the flow of human duration. You've got that cultural amnesia, remember? The one where history is just a disconnected series of facts and memes. Break it. Study history as a process, not just a series of events. Understand that revolutions don't just happen, they build over decades, fueled by countless interconnected forces. Ideas don't just appear, they evolve, they adapt. See the long arcs of change, the slow accumulation of decisions, the generational impacts. Read biographies and multi-generational sagas. Immerse yourselves in the lives of individuals and families across long spans of time. See how choices made by great-grandparents ripple through generations. This is human duration made tangible. Visit historical sites with intent. Don't just snap a selfie at the Roman Colosseum. Try to feel the weight of centuries of human experience in that place. Imagine the lives, the suffering, the ambition that flowed through those stones. It's about activating your empathy for the past, about feeling the continuous flow of human experience so you can extend that empathy to the future. Finally, practice mindful awareness of deep time, bringing the cosmic perspective into your daily choices. This is where Bergson meets long-termism in the grit of your daily life. Before you make a decision, a purchase, a commitment, ask yourself, what if this continued for 1,000 years, 10,000, a million? How does this choice impact the long-term viability of the species, the planet, the very potential for conscious existence? It forces you to think beyond the immediate gratification, beyond the personal convenience. When something promises instant results, an immediate fix, or rapid wealth, pause. Ask what long-term costs are being hidden. The universe doesn't operate on instant gratification. True value often accrues slowly, through duration. Confront your own temporal biases. Recognize when your brain defaults to the immediate. When you feel that urge for instant dopamine, that impatience for a long process, name it. Understand it as a habit of the intellect, a blindness to duration, and consciously try to override it. This is mental discipline. This is about cultivating a personal, visceral understanding that your existence, however fleeting, is part of something unimaginably vast. It's about recognizing that your greatest power lies not in controlling the immediate, but in shaping the distant future by living with intentionality in the continuous present. It's about daring to feel on a truly grand scale. This is not some self-help pablum, Project Mayhem. This isn't about finding your inner peace. This is about survival. It's about ripping off the convenient blindfold that is leading you to collective oblivion. It's about reclaiming the raw, intuitive power of duration that your modern world has suppressed. It's about letting the terrifying, beautiful demands of long-termism drive you not to despair, but to action. Stop staring at your fucking shoes. Lift your gaze, see the cosmos, feel the eons, and then, for fuck's sake, act like you belong to something bigger than the next 5 minutes. The future isn't just out there, it's flowing through you right now. It's time to feel its pulse. It's time to smash the clock and finally, truly see the future. So there we have it. We've journeyed through the immediate, seen the distortion of time, felt the terrifying weight of the future, and identified the blindfolds that we pull over our own eyes. You've been given the blueprint for reclaiming your temporal vision, for truly seeing the vast flowing reality that Bergson laid bare. We stripped away the comfortable lies. We showed you that time is not a series of discrete, predictable moments. It's a continuous, living, breathing flow, a duration. Your clocks, your calendars, your quarterly reports, your social media feeds, they are all just convenient fictions. Slices of a reality too vast and too dynamic for your intellect to fully grasp. But your intuition, that raw primal sense you've blunted with constant distraction, it can feel that flow. It can feel the élan vital pushing through millennia, striving for existence. And when you feel that flow, when you reconnect with deep time, the demands of long-termism become undeniable. They are the screams of quadrillions of potential lives, echoes from a future you are actively shaping or actively destroying. This isn't just about your survival, it's about the survival of consciousness itself. It's the universe demanding that you pull your head out of your ass and realize the monumental stakes of this fleeting moment. You know the forces that blind you, the economic systems that fetishize the now, the political cycles that can't see beyond the next vote, the information tsunami that shatters your attention, the cultural amnesia that erases the past and trivializes the future, and most importantly, You now understand the convenient blindfold you pull over your own eyes, the psychological discomfort, the alluring impotence, the false promise of easy progress. You chose this blindness. But you also have the tools to fight back, to embrace the slow burn, to reconnect with natural cycles, to cultivate historical empathy, to consciously practice long-term intentionality. These aren't just exercises. They are acts against the temporal tyranny of modernity. They are how you rebuild your capacity to see. This isn't about making you comfortable. Nothing we do here is about comfort. It's about waking you up. It's about forcing you to confront the reality that your choices right now are not just for you. They ripple outwards, echoing through eons, determining the very possibility of a future. The future isn't just out there waiting for you to stumble into it. It's being built or dismantled with every single second of your duration. Stop being a passive passenger on that runaway train. Take the fucking controls. Thank you for joining me on this little philosophical expedition today. You know that I deeply appreciate your presence and your attention. And if you found anything in this episode useful, or you think that someone else might find it interesting as well, then please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Here comes that hideous marketing bullshit, because we have to do this, unfortunately. But we are on social media, as much as I loathe those platforms. You can find us on Instagram, on X, and on TikTok with the handle @TheObservingEye. We're on YouTube, where you can go and watch our videos, which is youtube.com/@TheObservingEye. And we've also got a beautiful website on Substack, which is theobservingeye.com. So all of those platforms, you can go and chat to us and engage and comment and all of the usual things that you can do with these social spaces. I've also got an email, which I'm not entirely sure is a good idea, but you can email me at david@theobservingeye.com with your questions or suggestions or anything you want to get off your chest about philosophy. Not therapy, I can't be your therapist, but I'm happy to field philosophical questions and existential horrors. That's all good. And I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can, which is normally within a day or so. Thanks everybody, take care, much love, and I'll catch you soon.